It wasn't famous. It wasn't expensive. But everyone loved it because it felt warm, peaceful, and friendly. The owner, Mrs. Carter, knew almost every customer by name. Every morning, students came before school. Office workers stopped by before work. Parents bought hot chocolate for their children. And every Friday at exactly 8 o'clock, an old man named Mr. Thomas walked through the wooden door. He wore the same brown coat every week. His gray hat looked older every year. His shoes were clean but worn. He smiled at everyone, even strangers. Mrs. Carter always greeted him. "Good morning, Mr. Thomas." "Good morning, Emily," he answered with a gentle smile, like the usual. "Yes, but today I'd like 2 coffees." Mrs. Carter looked surprised. "You have a guest today?" Mr. Thomas smiled softly. "Not exactly." She prepared 2 steaming cups. Mr. Thomas paid for both. Then he carried only 1 cup to his favorite table near the window. The second cup stayed on the counter. Nobody touched it. 15 minutes later, a young man entered the cafe. His clothes were dirty. His backpack looked old. He searched every pocket. Nothing. He lowered his head. Mrs. Carter already knew what he wanted. Without saying a word, she picked up the second cup. "This coffee has already been paid for." The young man looked confused. "For me?" She nodded. "Yes." He smiled for the first time that morning. "Please, tell the person thank you." Mrs. Carter pointed toward the window. But Mr. Thomas had already left. The same thing happened the next Friday. And the Friday after that. Every week, Mr. Thomas bought 2 coffees. One for himself, one for someone he would probably never meet. The customers started noticing. Some became curious, others became inspired. A teacher bought an extra sandwich. A taxi driver paid for an extra tea. A nurse left money for 2 hot chocolates. Slowly, a small wall appeared inside the cafe. People wrote little notes. "For someone who needs a smile today. You are stronger than you think. Better days are coming." The wall became full of colorful messages. Visitors often stopped to read them. Some even cried. One cold winter morning, heavy snow covered the streets. The cafe was almost empty. Mr. Thomas arrived as usual, but this time he looked tired. His hands were shaking. Mrs. Carter noticed immediately. "Are you feeling all right?" He smiled. "I'm just getting older." She laughed softly. "We all are." He paid for 2 coffees. Then he quietly left. That was the last Friday anyone saw him. The next week, 8 o'clock came. But Mr. Thomas didn't. Mrs. Carter looked toward the door every few minutes. Nothing. The following Friday. Still nothing. Finally, a woman entered the cafe carrying a small envelope. "My name is Sarah. I'm Mr. Thomas's daughter." The cafe became completely silent. Sarah smiled sadly. "My father passed away 2 weeks ago." Mrs. Carter covered her mouth. "I'm so sorry." Sarah handed her the envelope. "He wanted you to have this." Mrs. Carter carefully opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Dear Emily, if you're reading this, I have probably shared my last Friday coffee. Thank you for helping me without asking questions. Many years ago, I was a young man with no money. One cold morning, I entered a cafe just like yours. I was hungry. I was embarrassed. A stranger had already paid for my breakfast. He never told me his name. That simple act changed my life. From that day on, I promised myself that if I ever had enough, I would always buy 1 extra coffee. Not because people need coffee, because sometimes people need hope. If possible, please don't let the second coffee disappear. With gratitude, Thomas." Mrs. Carter couldn't hold back her tears. Neither could the customers. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Then something unexpected happened. The young man who had once received the free coffee stood up. He walked to the counter. "I'd like to buy 5 coffees." Mrs. Carter smiled through her tears. "For your friends?" He shook his head. "No, for 5 people I'll probably never meet." A teacher added 3 more. A police officer bought 2. A college student bought 1 within 1 hour. The board behind the counter was completely full. There were more prepaid coffees than ever before. Months passed, then years. Visitors came from other towns after hearing about the little cafe on Maple Street. Some needed help, others wanted to help. Every Friday, one chair near the window remained empty. No one ever sat there. Instead, a single fresh flower rested on the table. It reminded everyone that kindness never truly ends. It simply finds a new person to continue the story.